So I'm happy when newcomers attend our rallies. I'm happier still when they come back for more. And then there's something extra special when they come back and say, well, is it okay for me to come and speak? And of course it is. So Tom and Bonnie Curtis of Bethlehem are here for the third time, I believe. Fourth time. And Tom asked to speak about Women's History Month. So please welcome to the Justice Southbury microphone, Tom Curtis. Woo! Right in it, Tom, or else they won't hear you.
Okay, all right.
Thanks. Right in it.
Okay, can you hear me fine? Okay. Close to the microphone. How's that? All right, okay. So I want to talk to you about a woman named Mary Dyer, and this will be very complimentary to the previous conversation we've had. First off, give me a show of hands. How many of you already know who Mary Dyer is? Okay, come to the right place. Well, let me ask you this. How many of you know who Martin Luther King is? Give me a show of hands. Okay, I think so. Okay, and how many of you know who Gandhi is? Can you have a show of hands for that? Okay, all right. Okay, well, the reason I ask is because Mary Dyer has two key things in common with Martin Luther King and Gandhi. She was a practitioner and promoter of nonviolence, and she died a violent death. But there's four things that are very different about Mary Dyer. First off, Mary Dyer is a woman. She's a daughter, a wife, and most importantly, she's a mother. She's a woman ahead of her time. She didn't live in the 1900s. She lived in the 1600s. And she's also a local. She didn't live and die in India or in the American South. She lived and died right here in New England. And the last thing, she wasn't assassinated outside of the legal system. She was killed by the legal system. Here's her story. She and her husband came to New England in the Great Puritan Migration of the 1630s. The Puritans came here to escape the religious persecution of King Charles I. They came here and they established their own legal code based on their beliefs that the only authority is a Bible. You know, to what our previous speaker had to say. And the Bible does indeed have many verses prescribing death for various causes. Prescribes, and they set up their legal code along these. One example I will give you, the Bible states, "Thou shalt not permit a sorcerer to live." So they set up their legal code based on these Old Testament verses, every one of them from the Old Testament. They prescribe death for murder, adultery, witchcraft, and blasphemy. Now, this last one was a problem from the get-go, because what defines blasphemy? Because there are parts of the Bible that say you should be killed for this and that. And there are other parts of the Bible that says no one should be killed for these things. So who decides what's blasphemy? Well, essentially, who decides what's blasphemy is who's in charge. And those in charge decided that it's blasphemy to oppose putting people to death for blasphemy. Roger Williams was probably one of the key proponents, but another woman who I'm not going to talk a lot about was Anne Hutchinson. And Anne Hutchinson and Mary Dyer were friends and like-minded. All of these people were banished from Massachusetts. They went off to what became the colony of Rhode Island, which is the true home of religious freedom in New England. We'll go forward about 20 years to the 1650s. Mary Dyer went back to England for several years, and she became a Quaker. Now, Quakers believe, the Quaker, I would call it code of conduct, is also based on what the Bible has to say. It's based on things in the Bible such as, "Judge not, lest ye be judged. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone," and perhaps most importantly, "Put down your sword, because all who live by the sword will die by the sword." The Quakers were nonviolent, the first denomination to be truly nonviolent. But there's other things about the Quakers. They also believe that we have inner light within us, the inner light to understand the truth and tell the truth. We all have that within us. It's not something that happened thousands of years ago. It continues with us today. And the last thing that's particularly interesting about the Quakers is they notice the Bible doesn't say anything about men have the rights to this, but women don't have the ability to do this. There is no difference in gender in the Bible and those sort of things. So the Quakers have men and women as their ministers. So Mary Dyer became a Quaker. She came back to New England. And in light with her faith, it's not just a matter of living that faith, but it's sharing the truth of your faith with others. And she had the courage, and several other Quakers had the courage to go to Boston to spread the faith in the Puritan heartland. So what happened? Well, the governor in Boston, Governor Endicott, continued to enforce the beliefs that blasphemy is a mortal crime, that you should be killed for it. But the Puritans felt they had compassion. The first offense, they were just banished, send you back to Rhode Island. The second offense, particularly for the men, they would crop their ears, like a cattle or something of that sort. And then for the third offense, you'd be taken to the gallows and hanged. So two men that come to Boston, they were sentenced to be hanged. Mary Dyer came to Boston to spread the word, to continue their message, to comfort them, and she was sentenced to be hanged. All three of them were taken to the gallows one day. The first man, noose was put around his neck, he was hanged to death. The second man, the noose was put around his neck, and he was hanged to death. Mary's turn came. The noose was put around her neck, and at the last second, the word came, she is reprieved. And what did Mary Dyer do? She refused her reprieve, but the government of Massachusetts took her away from Massachusetts back to Rhode Island, sent her away, banished her again. It had all really been a setup just to scare Mary so she wouldn't come back. So what do you think Mary did? She came back. This time, the governor sentenced her to be hanged. She was taken to the gallows, the rope was put around her neck, and she was hanged to her death. But you know, that might have been the end of the mortal life of Mary Dyer, but that was hardly the end. You consider what Mary's death was. This is the violent death of a person preaching nonviolence. But it wasn't just that. This is the ultimate in child abuse. Mary was someone's daughter. It was the ultimate in spousal abuse. Mary was someone's wife. And it was also the ultimate in something that we don't even talk about. It was the ultimate in mother abuse. Many were horrified by Mary's death and what happened here. One of the ones who was horrified was King Charles II, who had just been restored to the throne in England. His family had some personal experience with the Puritans. His father had been beheaded by the Puritans who won the English Civil War. But more than that, King Charles II had a mother who nurtured and protected him both before and after his father's death. King Charles II ordered an end to executions of Quakers and anyone for religious beliefs. And since that time, nobody in the lands that became the United States of America has been executed for their religious beliefs. So we're here today practicing and promoting nonviolence in relative safety because of Mary Dyer, the mother of nonviolent resistance. We're here today because her message of nonviolence didn't die with her and will never die. We're here today to continue her work, to tell the truth of violence and nonviolence, to end the violence that claimed George Floyd, Renee Good, Alex Preddy, nearly 50,000 Americans every year, including a family of 4 in Plainville Friday night from firearms, and over 100,000 Americans per year from drugs. We're here because no child's mother and no mother's child deserves to die a violent death, because all our lives matter. Thank you.